Hi, I'm Sam, Flying Kite, and this is week 29 of the horror show. We're finishing off the 28 Days Later series with 28 Years Later. It came out a couple months ago, or a month or two ago. It's a little less than 2 hours long. It's rated R. Danny Boyle directs it. He directed the first one. Alex Garland writes it. He wrote the first one. Music is by Young Fathers, who they kind of seem to be maybe a little newer, but to be fair, I'm not really familiar with their music. Alfie Williams plays Spike, Aaron Taylor Johnson plays Jamie, Jodie Comer plays Isla, and Ralph Fiennes plays Dr. Kelson. And the movie's about this, right? So if you're familiar with 28 days and 28 weeks later, you understand that, okay, the concept of 28 years later means 28 years after the Rage virus started. And if you're familiar with 28 weeks later, you would think that, hey, it's going to be a World War thing. But the movie, years in the beginning, 28 years later in the beginning of the movie goes and clarifies that, okay, the virus was pushed back to Great Britain and is now isolated there. There's like a wall around it. So it effectively kind of becomes like New York City from Escape from New York. Except it's not a prison. It's, well, it is a prison, but it's not prisoning criminals. It's containing this virus. And the story follows Spike, who is a 12-year-old boy growing up into this world. His home is this little piece of land that is off of the mainland. It's only connected by this causeway. It's a natural bridge that kind of that's there and then not there depending on the tide. And the movie starts off with him and his dad, Jamie, going to the mainland as a coming-of-age kind of test, of a boy becoming a man kind of thing. Jamie's taking Spike out to become a man, and a lot of stuff happens over there. They get back, a lot of, a few other stuff happens too. But I guess to kind of go back to the beginning, there's Spike, there's Jamie, and then there's Isla. Isla is Spike's mom, Jamie's wife, and she's really sick. Spike doesn't know what's wrong with her, and seemingly no one else knows what's wrong with her. And so, kind of fast forward to like halfway in the movie, Spike kind of realizes that, hey, does dad even care about mom? Because there's some stuff that happens. It's like, if a boy sees his father doing certain things, he'd probably start asking a lot of questions. And so he takes his mom to the mainland to find this doctor that's a bit out there, but it's the only doctor that he knows of that may or may not be able to help his mom. And so that's the basically second half of the movie. It's the first half of the movie is Spike and Jamie, and then the second half of the movie is Spike and Isla. Or Isla. I think Isla is the proper way of saying it. It's I-S-L-A. So I'm pretty sure it's Isla, but I could be mistaken. I really love this movie, and I am so stoked for the sequel, and then for the third installment of this, because it's supposed to be 28 years later, the Bone Temple, and I don't know if there's a title for the third one, but the third one's, it's all revolving around Spike, the kid in the movie. So let's get into my review, my grades. Spoiler alert, I really love this movie, so I wonder what it's gonna be. IMDb has it as a 7.1 out of 10. About 50,000 people voted, a little more. I'm sure that number is skyrocketed, so who knows what it is right now. It could be a little better, it could be a little worse, but as of a week or two ago, that's what it was. And when I say a week or two ago, I mean probably 3 weeks ago when this video is releasing. So let's get into it. The story is a 5 out of 5 for me. I really like the whole movie is a coming of age story for Spike, in which ultimately at the very end of the movie, I'm gonna kind of spoil it a bit. That's kind of just what's gonna happen. I mean, the movie's been out for 2-3 months. Before I spoil anything, if you have not seen this movie yet, if you're even watching this, of course, go watch the movie, or wait until you watch the movie, because I would say, and I'm gonna kind of talk about this a little later, even if it's boring, by the time the movie's over, you're gonna be happy that you watched it. If anything, just for the message and just for the moral of the story. But let me continue. I'm gonna start spoiling a bit, but try not to spoil too much too yet. It's a coming of age story following Spike. It's his coming of age story, in which by the end of the movie, he grows up. He's not like 18 at the end of the movie, he's still 12, but he goes through so much in this movie that the only thing to do would to either mentally give out or to grow up. And, you know, the whole original reason of Jamie taking Spike to the mainland, becoming a man, one would say that that's kind of what happened. But the funny thing about it would be, since Spike more kind of becomes a man after what happens in the second half of the movie, if he were to just constantly go out with Jamie out to the mainland, one could argue that, like, would Spike become a man? Or maybe at some point, but, like, not now. And what happens in this movie makes him become that man. The characters are a 5 out of 5 for me. I would say the only character in this movie that's kind of like, okay, whatever, is this specific, like, soldier character that kind of is introduced in the middle of the middle. Wow, my bad. There's the first half, the second half, and the last 5 minutes of the movie, right? The soldier character is more introduced in the second half of the movie, and he kind of becomes a prevalent character about the middle of it, or like beginning to middle of the second half of the movie. He's kind of like it's whatever, but like it makes sense, right? The whole idea of Britain's kind of just in this containment, so no one in there knows what life is like right now in the real world. So there's a few scenes and dialogue pieces and whatnot where there's that kind of whole back and forth talking of like the two perspectives, basically 2025. Well, actually, no, I guess this would be like 2030, right? Something like that. Yeah, it'd be like 2030 talking to 2002. Like, a lot has happened technology-wise. Wow. A lot has happened technology-wise. So there's a few scenes that are like that between Spike and this soldier. But apart from that, though, I think all the characters are really good and show how human everyone is. Because, like, when you watch a movie, you want to have characters who show the good and the bad in them. Because you want to show that they're human, that they're flawed. And I would say you get a real good piece of that, because the whole idea of Spike is that his parents are perfect and, like, whatnot. But then, like, he ends up realizing that ultimately both of them have lied to him. I'm not going to say what, and if I do say what, it's going to be much later. And if you're, like, still here and you haven't seen it yet, and you're like, come on, tell me, you're going to have to wait a little longer. But I would say go watch the movie, because it was really good, and I don't want to just spoil it for you. But anyway, I just thought that how the characters were shown about, I thought it was really good. And Alex Garland, Danny Boyle, they know how to do that kind of stuff very good. They know how to do that stuff very well. And so, wow, shocker, I think the characters are a 5 out of 5. Music, now this is a bit interesting. I have the music as a 5 out of 5. because when we're watching this movie, right, infection movie, there's two ways you could go about music: the cliche kind of stereotype, or an out there one that may or may not work. And I would say that what Young Fathers did was kind of more out there, a little maybe even way out there, but it works so good. It really does. My favorite scene in the movie is right before that transition between the two halves, when Jamie and Spike are on their way back and it's nighttime and you see the northern lights and they're walking on the like 1-2 foot level of water causeway. That scene, I'm not gonna say what happens in that scene, but that scene with the music is so good. I loved it so much. I knew when I saw the trailer for this movie that when I saw the shot of what that scene was, I knew that I was gonna love it. That scene was gonna be my favorite, and it ended up being my favorite. So it was funny how the music was really out there, but it was still very fitting, I would say. The setting is a 5 out of 5, where instead of it being in a city, and instead of it just being a city, it shows kind of neighborhoods, and it shows more of the nature and the overgrowth of, you know, what would this kind of place look like 28 years later. Now, you don't see like Great Britain, you don't see like London, right? You don't see that. But what you do see, you still see the overgrowth, and I would say that's still really cool to see. And then the effects / atmosphere, I would say, was a 5 as well. I just think all of it all together is just perfect, basically, anyway. The effects were very good. I guess technically if there was one shot of the effects that was like there's this one infected guy that just, his favorite, like, his X factor is tearing people's heads off with their spines connected to it. And there's like one of the heads that he tears off, it kind of looks a bit fake, but I mean, I'm still fine with it though. So I would say 5 out of 5. So let's go over what some people on IMDb thought. And then I'm gonna, I might spoil the movie later, only because I have to tell a story real quick. And who knows if someone's gonna actually be here and listen and watch to all of this. If anything, it's just one person, and I know who that is. Actually, 2 people. It's 2 people. I know who you are. The 1 out of 10s. What just happened? Good start that led to nothing. Unbelievably idiotic. 0 out of 10. Should have been buried 28 years ago. You know, I think I'm just gonna just normally say it or maybe be silly about it. But like, that one was funny. It's like someone was like, it should be a 0 out of 10. It should have been buried 28 years ago. And it's, I guess technically it's more like 23 years ago, but anyway. 5 out of 10s. I enjoyed the trailer more. Great first half, lacking second part. Am I the outcast? Not worth the wait. And then 10 out of 10s. This would be kind of my area. A fitting addition to the 28 series. A masterpiece of the zombie genre. We talked about this before. Misunderstood and underrated. Yes, for sure. Probably the best movie of the franchise. I guess I would say so. As of right now, anyway. Who knows how the next 2 will be. But, alright. So, story time. There's this person that I talk to here and there. She's very casual about movies. She, very hard on horror movies. Whoa, she's so hard on horror movies. She went and saw 28 Years Later. And she was like, she didn't really like Days, which I get it, right? Days is a bit slow. But she really liked the trailer for 28 Years Later. It freaked her out. So she was like, I'm gonna go watch it. And I kid you not, in that transition period between the first half and the second half, where the story changes, because the first half it feels like one kind of movie, and the second half it feels like another kind of movie, and there's like a 5 to 10 minute transition between the two, she leaves. And she's like, so boring, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Dude, okay. Dude, I'm fine if you hate this movie. If you watch the whole movie and you ultimately hate it, you think it's the worst thing ever, you think it is a 1 out of 10. I mean, the people who said 1 out of 10s on IMDb, they watched the whole thing. What just happened? Good start that leads to nothing. Unbelievable, idiotic. Should have been buried 28 years ago. When you watch the trailer basically makes the first half of the movie seem like it's the whole movie, I would say. And so, whenever someone, 1 out of 10, there's the one that's like, good start that leads to nothing. Okay, someone watched the trailer, saw the trailer, thought the trailer was really good, then went on to go and expect that trailer to be the movie, and then it was only the first half and the second half being something completely different. Obviously, you're not going to like it. But if you're going to say that you really liked the trailer, it freaked you out, you saw the first half, which was basically the trailer, and then you left before you were halfway, or like during the half. Dude, finish the movie. But then she's gonna go and watch I Know What You Did Last Summer and be like, ooh, I'm so hooked. Like, dude. I can't buy anything you say movie-wise. I just can't. Like, I mean, okay. This is gonna be the longest review probably, just because I'm gonna talk about so much. She saw Bring Her Back, thought that Bring Her Back was really good, like best horror movie of the year, maybe even of all time. I was like, no way, Jose, because there's so many other great ones, and it's like, oh, well, what's she looking at horror movies? Disturbing stuff. Okay, well, she's looking for like a Rob Zombie kind of movie then, right? Something such. Or that's what I'm thinking. I go and watch the movie, and it's a fine, good movie, but like, I was still waiting for years. I'm still waiting for Black Phone 2. I'm still waiting for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and I'm sure there's a couple other ones that whenever I got to go and watch them, then like, hey, I'm gonna love that movie or whatever. But like, that movie's a slow movie, and sure, stuff happens, but like, it's still slow. So I guess it's just like, the only thing that I could say about her situation is that maybe she like wasn't in the mood to go and watch it for whatever reason, kind of felt like she had to go and watch it, and then went and go and watched it, and then was super bored out for whatever reason, because literally when the scene that she leaves, the scene before that, or I guess the couple of scenes before that, was my personal favorite scene in the movie. No. But I mean to each their own, but like, dude, finish the movie. Like, dude, I'm so close to like crashing out. I just didn't realize I would have that kind of pet peeve. And I mean, I think it's a really valid pet peeve. Like, if you're gonna go and say that, oh, I'm like this horror guru, listen to me about my takes on horror movies, and you're not gonna even finish the movie, like, you didn't even see Samson yet. If you know, you know. But it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. Unless, super TikTok brain, something has to happen every 5 minutes. Like, if you, like, I guess it's like, someone put it like this. It's like, if you doom scroll Instagram or TikTok or whatever, right? You see all the reels and whatnot, and then you go and watch the new Superman movie. You'll love it. Why? Because something happens every 5 minutes. Which is like, that's fine if that happens. But don't go and think a movie's boring, and then, you could think it's boring, but like, don't leave the movie halfway through it. So, because I would say the biggest, like, problem is just that the second half of the movie is so emotional. Over 28 years later, the second half is so emotional. Especially when Spike and Isla get to Dr. Kelson. Like, once they get there, it's so emotional. And then, like, there's like a point, like, before the last 5-10 minutes where, like, if it ended at a certain point, that would have been a wonderful ending. And I would still say it was a really nice ending, because obviously it's a first of 3 movies, so you kind of have to, you know, set up the next movie. So that's why the last 5-10 minutes I would say is in the movie, but like take that out. If it's just its own thing and it's ended how people wanted to end, perfect ending. And she messed up because it was too boring the first half, even though that was what the trailer was presenting. Like, dude, really? Literally, my first thought is she's literally the kind of person, this is an assumption, and if she ever somehow, for whatever reason, watches this review, you know who you are. She's literally the kind of person that would go and be like, oh, the scariest movie of 2023 was Five Nights at Freddy's. And it's like, dude, 1, Evil Dead Rise came out then. But then 2nd, When Evil Lurks came out then too. And to go and be like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, for 1, you're super casual. I really don't want to hear it. And 2nd, you're wrong. Fake news. You're wrong. Anyway, I think that's it for this raw, real rant. Because why not? Longest review so far. So, if you're still here watching this and you haven't seen the movie yet, I didn't spoil the ending, so you really should watch it. And even if you really think that it's gonna be super boring and whatnot, it's like you still give it a chance. You always give a movie a chance. Like, don't, like, if you're gonna like judge books by its cover, then why do you even read books? Like, okay, watch the movie. It's not like a 3-4 hour long movie. It's literally an hour and 55 minutes long. And if you want to, you know, take the credits out, it's like an hour and 50. So, I mean, like, go check it out. I think you'll really like it. I think the only reason you wouldn't like it is if you're a TikTok brain. Then sure, you probably won't like it. But there's a lot of movies you wouldn't like that a lot of people would go and hail as, you know, great classics. Like, you would hate Lawrence of Arabia and probably any Christopher Nolan movie. Kind of thing, anyway. But, yeah. I'm Sam, Flying Kite. This was week 29 of The Horror Show. And I did 28 years later. Great stuff, and I cannot wait for the Bone Temple. I'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.